Hey, what's happening? Come with me. Let's check this out.
Story time, boys and girls. What's happening? I stumbled on this. I'm at the Ballarat Gardens. And right from the start, I just want to say I'm not a garden guy, I'm not a statue guy, but I know something cool when I see it, right? And I stumbled on these statues. I just happened to notice them. They're everywhere through the gardens. I'm going to show them to you. And on the bottom of these statues, they've got presented by this guy. This name started to ring out to me, Thomas Stoddart. And I didn't really notice at first, but the more that I looked at it, the more that I noticed, and I thought, this guy's got his name written on all these statues. So I had to do a bit of digging. So of course, Google's your friend, do a bit of digging. Turns out this guy's got a pretty captivating story, man. But first things first, let me just show you some of these statues. Number one, right here. It's called Leader. There's 12 of these things. This one's called Leader. Now they were presented in 1884, so that's pretty old, man. Like that's getting way back there. But the story goes that this Stoddart guy, he was overseas in Sicily, and he come across this stonemason guy that was making these statues, and he liked them that much that he asked him to make 12 of them and ship them out here to Ballarat, Victoria, Australia. Why did he do that? Because he wanted to make Ballarat a statue city. He'd seen that stuff in Melbourne earlier, and I guess it captivated him, man. He wanted to do the same thing, and he obviously had the money to do that. So I'm gonna let you a little bit more, we'll get into that a little bit more on how he got his wealth, how he came to be. But let's just check out some more statues for a minute. Thomas Stoddart was born in Scotland, and in the mid-1850s he made his way to Melbourne by a boat, some boat named Arundel. I don't know what his skills were at that time, but he did go on to be a carpenter, and he obviously has worked in Melbourne for some time. 1861, he's decided to hang up the tool belt, and he's come to Ballarat actually first-hand in the hunt for gold. With that, he's looking for gold. So many people did this. I've touched on that in other stories in the past, and there's a heap more stories to follow. But Thomas himself wasn't that successful at finding gold. He did, however, learn how gold worked, how it was found, what you do with it when you're finished. I know that sounds crazy, but it's like if you find a lump of gold back then, what do you do with it? We all know it's worth something and everyone's scrounging to find it, but what are we doing with it? And he learned the logistics behind it and how to double your money on it, how to take a piece of gold for not much, turn it into more and pull some equity out of it. So what he became was he became a share broker because he became so good at understanding the whole process from start to finish. So how you find gold, how you set up a plant to mine for it, how you manage it. And the story goes that he actually floated many mines here in Ballarat. So that's sort of intriguing. So he had enough money behind him to get behind guys that had a vision, had a bit of a business model to dig for gold in a certain spot, and he floated those companies with his finances. It's pretty impressive, man, considering that we had the biggest mining industry in the world at the time. By 1860, we'd developed more mines here than anywhere else in the world. So to be a part of the majority of them, his name is associated with most of them, is pretty spectacular, and it's a sure way to gather where his wealth come from. And I mean, if he can buy some statues and donate them to the town, it's pretty fair to say we know how he gathered that wealth to do that, I reckon. Let's check some more out. This guy here is called Winter. very hard to see in this light, guys, but I'm going to try and get up here onto his face. That's your boy Winter right there. I like this one. This one, I'm not a statue guy, man, but this one, they call her Flora Finese. Maybe Finesse. Check it. I like her. That's cool. Wouldn't be complete without old matey Hebe. Creepy, man, because if you check the eyes, they're pretty dead looking. Hiding off to the side, autumn. Pretty victorious looking, like got the grapes in hand. This one has eyes. Summer. She's pretty cool too. Got a boob out. And she has eyes. I don't know why that other one didn't have eyes. Mercury. This one's getting a little weird, I gotta be honest, dudes. Not sure about that thing on his head. What is that thing on his head? He's even pointing at it. He knows it's a bit weird. He knows it's a bit weird. You're embarrassed, aren't you, brother? I'm not sure about that one. I'm not sure whether Thomas Stoddart actually had anything to do with the selection of them, or whether he just said, just make me 12 statues, man. I don't know. That one's getting a bit quirky. Bit quirky. There's one called Bashante. I think I'm pronouncing that right. Sounds fancy. It sounds marble Sicilian statue sort of fancy. But I haven't seen it. There's a couple to go, but Bashante. What a name, man. I'm waiting on that one. What do we got coming up over here? Spring? So here we got spring. Let's do spring. It's worth noting too that Thomas Stoddart had all these bases made. Thomas had all these bases made back here in Australia. Victorian granite or something? I don't know. I told you I'm not a statue guy. I'm only showing you what I'm showing you. They're cool though. Maybe we get into collecting statues. Have I started something? No? I can tell walking up on this guy, there's got to be Hercules. Yep. He's got a Tommy knocker, man. Look at that. Know why? Hercules don't take no shit off nobody. That's why. He ain't taking no shit off nobody. Look at that dude, man. We will be victorious. Very cool. Very cool. Want to see what a true blue tough guy looks like? I mean, hardcore tough guy, real deal tough guy. William Wallace. That's what a tough guy looks like. Nothing to do with Thomas Stoddart's collection. It's just another statue that's been presented to the city here. But he's a badass dude, man. That's one hell of a story. It's worth noting too, some of these trees in here are wilder. Check this tree. Look at that thing. Again, it's got nothing to do with the statues or the Stoddart. Look at this thing, man. What is that? National Trust, so it's enlisted on the National Trust. Oh, I can't even say what that is. It's a something. Sequoiadendron giganteum. Don't know. I don't know if I said that right. Look at that in there. How's that thing even standing up? It's massive. I don't know whether you can see that on camera. Massive. And he's made over here. Looks like one of those American sequoias or whatever, I think. Massive. There's one down here. I just got treehouse written all over it. If you was a kid back in the day, this thing's got treehouse written all over it. Check it out, man. Look at this. Look at that thing. Does that thing scream treehouse or what? Does so. I mean, it's tall, dude. I ain't climbing it. No chance. Massive. Just thought I'd show you that. More useless information at story time. Take it or leave it. And Pomona. She has no eyes, man. Pomona. It's almost like a bit of a goddess name, isn't it? Pomona. Bit of an erotic woman. Pomona. That was cool though. There's the last one here. Flora. Flora. Pretty traditional, old school statue looking, if you ask me. Got a boob out. It's a bit of a thing back then. Pretty classy looking woman, yet drops a boob out. You serious? She is a classy looking woman, right? But drops a boob out. Flora was not the last one. This one must be Bashante. It is too. Bashante. Another extremely classy looking woman. Might be depicted as a young lady. I think it's supposed to be a woman. I might be wrong. No boob out on this one, so she's full class. Hiding up the front here under the trees. Bashante. What a name, man. Bashante. That's the statues covered, right? There's a couple of other little things that I want to sort of look at. One of them, they say, somewhere in town, I've got to find it, there is a bust of Thomas Stoddart. And it was made by this guy, his name escapes me. Let me think about that. The guy that done the sculpture, his name was F.W. Commons. And all it reads is that he was the finest sculptor of the time, or finest sculpturer of the time. So here's the guy that done this marble bust of Thomas Stoddart, and it's probably the only way that we can get a bit of a scale on what the man looked like, and that's important. So I'm going to go and try and find it, no guarantees. This town can be a bit funny with that stuff. It puts it in some archival corner and you never see it again, but they say it's either at the art gallery or the town hall. I'm going to head into the city and see what I can find. So that's next, guys. Let's do this. So they say that the bust of Thomas Stoddart is right here. This is the town hall. It's a pretty crazy building. Let's check it out, man. We'll test our luck, see if we can find him. They say he's in here. True to their word, there it is. That's really superb too. The guy that done this was one of the finest sculptors of the time, and it probably rings true to me. Look at that. This joint's crazy. I'm kind of speaking quiet because it's really loud in here when I talk, but there he is, man. Thomas Stoddart. I kind of feel like a bit fulfilled sort of finding that. There's something really, something kind of fulfilling about that. I'm really happy that I made the effort. So the story goes that Thomas Stoddart had gone on a vacation down to Queenscliff, and on that vacation he decided to catch a boat across the bay to Sorrento. But coming back, he thought that he'd picked up, you know, a bit of a change in the air, a bit of a cold, bit of a chesty bug or whatever. But it turned out that he really hadn't. He got quite sick, quite unwell, and this place across the road from us here, this is where he died. The story goes that it was his business partner's property. I'm not sure whether it was his personal residence or whether they co-owned it together. But on his return back from Queenscliff with the supposed illness, change in weather or whatever, he died. His death certificate states nothing of this illness and that he'd actually died of cancer of the liver. Which they felt he'd had for 3 months. Pull up a chair with me. Have a seat. I'm looking at 321 Sturt Street right here. It's actually a Schnitz fast food outlet now. Check this out. That's it. .321 Sturt Street, that is where Thomas Stoddart passed away of a supposed liver cancer. I mean, the place has changed a lot, let's just say, but it's still pretty crazy looking up there. Like, you can tell that it was an old school something at one point. Before they put all them ugly shop fronts in, it was definitely looking wild. There you have it. That's the last known place of Thomas Stoddart, right there. And the story goes that the morning that the news broke of his death, they actually over here at the town hall, up here at the town hall, they actually lowered the flags to half-mast for the day, and the Ballarat Stock Exchange, if I can get that out, Stock Exchange ceased trading for the day, which according to old school times, that was unheard of. That was the biggest thing and the biggest action to be happening in the guts of town here. That happened down the road here. Down the next intersection on the corner, that was the area where all the stock exchange guys used to hang out, and that's where they used to do all their dealings and trade. And that's where Thomas Stoddart really built his name in the stock market. So yeah, all those guys pulled the pin for the day once they learned of his death. That's pretty crazy. I just thought I'd throw it in here. This is the Ballarat Mining Exchange. This is where Thomas Stoddart used to hang out, man. He had a fair bit to do with this place. He was there when they laid the first stone to it in 1888, it says up top, so check this. It's marked at the crown up here, 1888. It's a pretty wild looking building. And it remains mostly untouched. It's pretty crazy. And funny enough, the town still brings gold fever. It's fitting, the mining exchange. Stoddart's offices were up the top here too. His first professional offices in the share market were held up there somewhere, so I mean, if the walls could talk, we'd know more, but somewhere up there was where our buddy used to hang out, so there you go. Ballarat Old Cemetery. This is the final resting place of Thomas Stoddart. Feb 20th in 1905, he passed away, and on the Wednesday following, he was brought here. They say that he spent his final days at 321 Sturt Street at his business partner's place. They say that he was so unwell that his remaining days he spent on sedatives. We're sort of left to guess what they might have been, but yeah, I don't know what they would have been. I don't know what they took back then, but whatever it was probably not real good, and he probably felt that he was going to recover. He just thought that he was a bit unwell from the change in the weather after his little boating experience across the bay, which we all do every weekend here as Victorians, but he didn't come back from it. So yeah, he was that unwell, he succumbed to it. Nonetheless, this is where he's at. The city have recently done some restoration work. When I say recently, I say 2010. They've done some restoration work on his final resting place, and to be honest, it's probably, for such a monumental guy, after reading up on him and learning about him, it's not much of a final resting place. But I can only present what I can present and what's here. This is it, let's check it out. So they've re-cleaned up the stone, bit of a spruce up on the, which is hollow. I found that very disappointing. The old stuff would have been, they say the old stuff would have been brass, and naturally everybody knocked it off. But they could have replaced it with a bit more of a heavy duty casting, in my opinion, but nonetheless, it is what it is. You're probably not going to be able to read that, but basically what it says is this. It says, in memory of Thomas Stoddart, born at Roxburgh, Scotland, 1828, arrived in Ballarat, 1853, died 20th of February, 1905. It's a pretty straightforward thing, really. I think the little plaque on this side here, yeah, Ballarat Botanical Gardens, Thomas Stoddart presented 12 marble statues to adorn the Botanical Gardens. The railing was restored in the style of the period by friends of Ballarat Botanical Gardens, funded by the Ballarat Foundation in 2010. So that's already what I just told you, like yeah, 2010. And here, I've just noticed, interesting, F.W. Commons. Here's the guy, wow, here's the guy that done the bust of Thomas Stoddart himself that we went and saw at the town hall. That is cool. I wonder if being a stone guy, whether he had something to do with making the stonework here on this grave. I don't know. But nonetheless, that's his name. Interesting little fun fact there. That's a wrap, guys. I can't present anything else because there's nothing else on the man. A lot of that stuff gets lost to history, and I guess in the end it all gets lost to history, and the stories jumble as the years go by, and that's life, the cycle of life. Story time complete. Thanks for watching. If you got this far, I appreciate you very much. Give me a like, give me a subscribe. I've got some other weird, wacky, wonderful stuff to release in the coming months, days, years. All the best. Cheers.